How nice is it when someone holds a door for you or lets you merge into traffic or makes a bit more space for you so that you have a bit more room to get past on a busy walkway? It's nice when someone is considerate of you and it makes your life easier. So why the hell do we stop doing these things? I think the chivalrous person is still doing these things, but for the most part, chivalry is dead. And today I'm going to discuss why I think it died in the hopes that we can understand these reasons a bit more and bring back chivalry, hopefully in its best form. The modern attention society has spent decades prioritizing individualism and advocating for self to the point where we kind of have, to use a racing term, the blinkers on and no longer either notice or care about our surroundings. And I think that's kind of sad. We're in too much of a rush to hold the door. That person can wait for a proper opening to merge into traffic, and it's a shared path. Like, everyone can just squeeze around, like everyone just sort yourselves out. And while individualism is definitely important, and I'm a firm believer that, the first charity should be home, everyone should be looking to sort themselves out first. Being considerate, conscious of others is such an easy thing to do, and it can add so much to our lives that I think we need to regain some of the core principles that are within the ideology of chivalry. So I'm going to discuss kind of chivalry at length, and I think it's important that we understand what it is. Chivalry is a pretty old term, and it refers to a code of conduct that a knight would have been expected to live by. And at its core, there is this philosophy to be courteous, be polite, well-mannered, behave appropriately, and you would help those in need. And while these things seem really great, and you're probably thinking, how the hell did this thing die? How did we kill this thing? There's a few implications that come with helping someone in need. And the idea of helping someone in need also encompasses that you would be helping them because they are weak. Again, on the surface, that seems really nice, but this idea of helping the weak, I think, has played a large role in actually killing chivalry in modern society, and we'll discuss that a lot later. But regardless, this way of living has shown us a lot of ideas that we still hold today. Yes, a lot of them are gone, but that's where we get this idea that you should hold the door for someone, right? Someone needs to get through the door, so you should help them with that need of theirs. And someone, an old lady needs to cross the road, and you should help her cross the road. And the elderly person needs a seat on public transport, so you stand up for them. That's where we get all of these things in modern society that are kind of core principles that have been filtered down through the idea of chivalry. And as nice as these things are, somewhere along the evolution of social expectations, we predominantly lost chivalry in our day-to-day. Obviously, I'd be exaggerating if I tried to say that nobody is considerate of others, and obviously people are. But for the most part, good luck finding someone who's going to let you into traffic. You're going to have to force the issue, and good luck walking down the street without nudging people all the time. And you best believe you'll hold the door for someone and they will not thank you. And I think that the thing that has made me want to talk about this a little bit more is that I've found this kind of selfishness, this sort yourself out attitude to be very infectious. And even when I'm driving, I kind of engage in this silly psychological dilemma, right? This selfish dilemma where if someone forces the issue and cuts in front of me or whatever it is, I feel like I've lost space and I've lost time, and then I find myself being selfish. I rush around a little bit more. I try and cut into traffic because I need to regain the space. I need that time back. And it's such a silly perspective when you kind of zoom out, because on one hand, someone has got in front of me and I'm really frustrated at it, but whereas a chivalrous person is probably letting this person in, and what's their outlook on it? They feel like they've helped someone. They're probably actually happy that they've lost that tiny bit of time and a little bit of space because it's helped someone, it's bettered someone else. And that's kind of made me think that maybe we need to bring this thing back. And it would be nice to sit here and say that a chivalrous person is super appreciative and they help people, and it'd be nice, we should just bring it back. But society kind of isn't that simple. And I think that there are a number of reasons why it left us and died in the first place. And it's made it really difficult to re-engage with. So I want to kind of mention them in the hopes that if we can get over some of those barriers that we've built around it, that we'll be able to bring it back in some way. So the first one I kind of briefly mentioned before, but that is this societal change to individualism. And I don't think that, there's ever been a stage where we haven't valued individualism, but we definitely prioritize it a hell of a lot more than ever. And if you think back to kind of pre-industrial revolution, communities would have had to needed to work together. They might have needed to farm together. You would have been reliant on the baker, the builders, and everyone would have kind of been in this together. And when you think about a chivalrous person in this, it would make logical sense to try and look out for people, try and help the community where you can, because everyone was relying on each other. If you look at kind of the individual today, they can have a job, they can have an income, they can pop down to the shops by themselves, they can drive wherever they need to go, they can sit at home if they want to, they can order everything to their doorstep, and they don't really need to engage with the community. So what is the incentive of this person trying to help everyone when they can just have everything at their doorstep? There's no kind of need. So I think that individualism in that sense has, changed from it's needing each other to us being more self-sufficient. And this transition to individualism makes even more sense when you factor in the rise of social media. We are constantly bombarded by people who are fulfilling their best versions of themselves and serving themselves to the highest degree, going on elaborate holidays and the Lamborghinis. And I think it's natural that we've transitioned to prioritize this individualism. We're not glorifying communities, we're glorifying the individual. So that makes a lot of sense. But then I also think, why did this come at the cost of being considerate of others and helping people? There is so much to gain from that. So I think that individualism within society, and especially, this convenience society, has made us far less reliant on others. And therefore it makes sense why we wouldn't look out for each other. We've turned it into a dog-eat-dog world, but I don't think it needs to be that way. The next reason I think we've shifted from this courteous, chivalrous society, I think is the most interesting, and I think it's hard to say how much of an impact this truly has, but I definitely think that there is an impact, and it's kind of in the title, so I'm definitely going to talk about it. But somewhere along the way, chivalry and helping others, and I guess the idea of helping the weak and being considerate of others, got mixed up in some gender politics and equality debates. And to quickly touch on it, the feminist movement has been around for decades, and it has predominantly focused on female rights, given that women historically have been mistreated and given less opportunities. The list could go on, and I'm not here to bore you with a lot of that. You can find that content elsewhere. Now you're probably like, what the hell has this got to do with anything about chivalry? And it kind of goes back to the idea of helping the weak. And when you think about helping someone with, unsolicited help out of a spur of the moment decision, there are kind of two things that person is going to think motivated the helper. A is that person is really nice and they're considerate and that's so thoughtful of them. And they're probably going to say thanks. Then B is this person thinks I'm weak and that I need help. Now add that with kind of the progression of feminism and our, equality and the politics around that. And we have chivalrous people potentially helping women, maybe holding the door, who think the implication of that door being held is that they aren't powerful enough or capable enough to help themselves, that they're too weak to do these things. So what happens? Everyone stops helping each other. And I want to make this super clear that I think most people are still appreciative of help and won't go down some guilt spiraling kind of trip moment to suggest you're upholding the patriarchy, but it definitely happens. Which brings me to my next point, which is a fear of being misunderstood. And we're going to have a little story time here. I used to catch a train to high school, and I would get on at the end of the train line and be on the train for well over 40 minutes because I sort of lived in the sticks. And the time of the train I would get was the busy morning train. It had the work rush in there, so it was usually just bumper to bumper of people. There were stacks of people on there, but I would always get a seat because I was on at the first station. I was one of the first people always on the train, so I would always have a seat. Now, me as my teenage self thought of myself as quite a considerate person, some would even say chivalrous. I would often offer my seat to, old person or someone that looks like they need the seat more than me. Maybe they're getting bumped around in, the group of people. And often I just wanted to stand up, right? I didn't want to be seated for 40 minutes to start my day. And usually these people would just say thank you, or they would just take a seat, and that was kind of the end of it. But one day I offered a lady my seat. She wasn't super old or anything, but I could see her kind of getting knocked around by some tall people or the larger people on the train. So I offered her my seat, and she turned around and says, "Do I look like someone who needs a seat?" There wasn't a no thanks or thanks, but I'm all good, or anything like that. And I can't remember what happened, but I know that there was an awkward pause. And I don't know what I said, but I continued to think about that for the rest of the day, right? I wasn't overly offended or anything like that. And I don't think the lady was overly offended. And I just sat on the train for the rest of the day. But I realized that I had been misunderstood. And in me thinking about it, I realized that the lady thought I was implying that she wasn't capable of standing, and that she wasn't capable of standing and she should sit, right? When in reality, I just wanted to help. I just wanted to make her life a little bit easier, and I also didn't want to sit down for 40 minutes. And that fear of being misunderstood kind of stuck with me, and even still, I think to this day, I only offer my seat on the train to someone who's really old, I'm talking hunchback, because I know that they'll appreciate it. I don't want to be misinterpreted as someone who, I guess, is misogynistic, who thinks that a female would need help. And here's the thing, because I don't want this to kind of get misinterpreted in some way. I think that the majority of people aren't against chivalrous acts. But I think, and I can kind of speak from first-hand experience on this, that it doesn't take many misinterpretations of your chivalrous acts for someone to stop feeling the need to be chivalrous. It took one lady, and I'm sure it probably happened a number of other times, for me to be like, you know what, I don't need to offer my seat to anyone, right? And that's kind of the point I'm making, is that I think people like the idea of chivalry. How the people have stopped doing it out of whether it's their individualism that's taking over, whether they know that it's caught up in some silly gender politics, or whether they've just been misinterpreted once and they don't want to have an awkward train ride again. So that's the part that I guess made me sort of sad and made me want to make a video and discuss this, because we've lost something good really easily, and that is so stupid that we lost this thing to some kind of, I guess, misinterpretation and a slight change in the way we view society. However, in the same way that we lost this to the selfishness of individualism and the infectious way that can kind of consume our perspective on life, I think that we can equally regain it with the flip side of that. So to go back to the car scenario, when you feel like someone robbed you of your space in traffic, it perpetuates this need to get something back, get my car space back, get my time back. And the same way you hold the door for someone and they don't acknowledge you, you feel like you've wasted your time and they didn't appreciate it, and now you're owed something. And I think that this same mentality of selfish intent perpetuates more selfish intent, right? The person being cut in traffic feels like they need to get time back, then they do it again, and then the other person feels like they need to do it. But the same thing can happen in the inverse way. For example, you hold space in traffic for someone. What happens? They usually appreciate it and they wave back at you. They say thank you. Everyone feels good. Then maybe they help someone else in. You hold the door for someone and that person actually says thank you. Then all of a sudden the next day they're holding the door for you. The same thing on the busy street. Someone moves aside and lets you pass, and you both nod and appreciate each other and acknowledge each other. And then you continue to try and help each other through the busy street. And life just becomes easier because we are consciously looking out and helping each other. And we perpetuate this positive reward for that help instead of the inverse that we kind of get stuck in. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely oversimplifying this scenario. And, the lady on the train is still a chance to make you feel misunderstood. And good luck getting a thank you from every busy driver. And there's going to continue to be people that do not hold the door for you or don't say thank you. But this has to kind of start somewhere. And I think if you take notice of what's around you and you try to be considerate when you engage with it, and you put down the phone for a second and take in the community, that there is a lot of good out there and that you can still help people and be chivalrous. And maybe you'll notice that people are also being chivalrous. So if we take away that implication of the idea that you're helping the weak and that you're just helping for the sake of it, why wouldn't we want this back? And I know that individuals are powerful and capable organisms, but an individual is no bigger than the community. We've kind of, I think, been misled by this idea of individualism. And if we kind of embrace each other, we're just so much better. So I think help each other, hold the door, embrace that helpful nature that humans have, and bring a piece of that chivalry back without the fear of being misunderstood. And I know that you're gonna maybe hurt someone's feelings, but know that in the long run, that the kindness will prevail, and maybe you yourself find a slice of happiness in that journey. So I hope you liked the video. If you're curious about anything else I've made, on the screen there should be a link to a video where I discuss another way that you can think about your friendships, and hopefully you can make some more connections in your life. But this is just a happy guy, and that's the end of the video, and stay happy.